This is Larry Zerner, Shelley from Friday the 13th for 3. You're listening to the Don't Go Out There podcast.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast. Just want to thank all of our fans and listeners. Really appreciate the support. You guys are awesome. Before we get into tonight's film review, just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on the website. All of our episodes and interviews, if you want to check those out. We've done some incredible interviews in the past. Go check them out there in a specific tab by themselves so you don't have to scroll through hundreds of episodes on Apple or Spotify, etc. We also have our store if you want to grab a shirt, a mouse pad, a hat, all that good stuff. We'd love to see your pictures, rep your favorite podcast. And Shan's Etsy page is also attached if you want to grab a tumbler. All of our social media links are on there as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Like us, subscribe us, follow us, all that good stuff. And the last thing I want to shout out on our website is our Patreon. We call it Blood Donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. If you want to support us, help us pay the bills, as we say. Or if there's a movie you want us to review, that option is available as well. Just check out our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Also, if you haven't noticed, we've recently joined the Believe Network. So there's some ads on our program now. But if you want ad-free content, go check us out on Blood Donors. The ad-free episodes will be available there. We appreciate your support. We hope you enjoy the episode. Happy Friday the 13th, fellow DGOT listeners. We really appreciate y'all. Going back to the logo, we're always excited about that. We are going to continue on in the chronological order now, since we started off just bouncing all over the fucking franchise. We decided to go in order now. We're doing Friday the 13th, Part 3, 3D. Brian's going to be doing scene by scene tonight. I'll kick us off with general thoughts. Listen, at the very end of my notes, I say it. This is a flawed movie. A lot of shit you can nitpick about it. But it's got that 80s charm, and it's fun. It's got a little bit of fun to it, a little bit of charm. I think all of these Friday the 13th movies, outside of the ones that I really, really love, all are in like the same score range, that 5.5 to 6.5 range. And this one's the same for me. Like, I can pop it on anytime and enjoy it, but from like a movie critic standpoint, it's got a lot of flaws to it. I'll just leave it at that. It's a good time, but it's not perfect by any means.
Look, Nico used to hate the 80s, and now it has 80s charm. Look at this growth.
Y'all the ones who made that shit up.
We like good 80s films. I don't know these bad 80s films and shit, like Maximum Overdrive, whatever the fuck.
That's
Wow.
on you. That movie's fun.
Go ahead, Dustin. What you think about this, man?
Oh, I've seen this movie.
Congratulations.
So this movie's kind of confusing for me as far as where I want to rank it, because one time I watch it and I like it a lot more than I do the next time.
Yeah.
When we ranked the Friday the 13th franchise, I think I had it 8th. And then when we came back and did our first 31 on 31, I think I had it 6th of the Friday the 13th movies. Regardless, it's not a great movie. There's a lot of flaws to it. The 3D, the shooting it for 3D hindered it for me. Like, there's a lot of shit that's just like, you can tell they only held something a certain way to capture a 3D shot, and it annoyed me. There's other things that are 3D. It's like, oh my God, the wire is clearly visible, like right there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that bothered me some. And the characters, the group of teenagers sucked. The biker gang was pointless, but I still have fun with it. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna rate this movie at the end. We'll figure it out along the way.
Mike, what you think, brother?
I'm known as a past hater of this film. I think when we did our ranking episode, I may have had it the lowest out of all of us, if I'm not mistaken. Partly because I found it boring. Because I do think I think it feels just like 2, or like a lesser version of 2, which feels just like 1. So when you're watching these in a binging order, like it's a mini series, you kind of like, can we get to something a little different? Which is what 4 brings, right? Similar, but there is differences with Tommy Jarvis and that group of teens, and it does feel different. Feels more like a more modern more modern Jason film. However, I'm a little bit along the same lines of Nico, where this time around I came around on it a little bit. It has some of that 80s charm that you mentioned. Um, my biggest gripe with the film is honestly no fault of anybody that wrote it or shot it or anything like that. It's the MPAA. They hacked this motherfucker to death. These kills stink, brother. Minus like 2 kills. Like there's no fun kills in this movie, which again, kind of what we're all here for with these slasher films of the time, is it not? I mean, it's teenagers at a camp to get slashed on screen. We need to be able to have fun with that. And I don't think this one has as much fun with that as some of the other ones, but it's fine. Like there's better movies in the franchise, but I don't think it's the worst. I don't put it right at the bottom or anything. It's fun for what it is. Like Nico said, it's around that 5.5 to 6.5 range for me. There's a couple there that are just kind of stuck and clustered there for me. And of course, this got rid of the best mask in the fucking franchise, which is fucking hashtag Team Sack, baby.
Oh God. Oh God. Well,
Hey,
I
I'm
actually.
allowed to have an opinion.
Well, I've said this before. I used to, whenever I was younger and used to watch these marathons, I used to start my marathons with this one because I wanted to see Jason with a Jason hockey mask. That's what I wanted to see. But, that was before I came to grow up a little bit and appreciate the greatness of 1 and 2. And I'm honestly so glad that we are going back through these because I'm really starting to find out like just how much I really do like the ones that I never used to really watch. This is one of them. Like I like it. And I said the same thing, Nako. It's got this charm to it. I didn't say 80s charm, but it's got this charm to it. And I don't think it gets enough credit. Now, like we mentioned so many times when we review movies from the 80s, MPAA was on some stupid shit and really neutered this one down. I think it would have been even better with the original kills. And what I found was the Norwegian VHS is actually uncut and still has those original kills. But despite some light research, I couldn't really find any way to watch it. But I like this a lot more than I used to. And I don't know if it's 4 years now. I feel like I've watched exponentially more horror movies than I did when we first started this. And I used to call myself a horror fan. And now I feel like I can say that. It's made me, for some reason, appreciate these a little bit more. Like, I don't find it hokey and cheesy like I used to. I find it just, like you said, it's got a charm to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's an easy one to have a lot of fun with. It's a very popcorn Jason movie in my opinion because the kills are hacked. Like there's not a whole lot of gore. There's a little bit, but there's not a whole lot of gore. There's like one little bit of nudity, if I'm not mistaken, that I marked in here because I'm kind of, no offense, looking for it in these movies. This is no knock on anyone that worked on the effects on the movie because they were neutered, but clearly think Tom Savini is missing with this film. I'm glad he comes back later in the franchise. But I do think there is a noticeable difference, me personally.
For sure. Anybody got anything else before I jump into this scene by scene tonight? All right, fellas, let's do it. Friday the 13th, part 3 on Friday the 13th, 2024. As this film takes place the day after the events of part 2, we're refreshed on how that one ended. And if you'd like a refresher, go no further than episode 298 at don'tgoothere.com. And I actually love Jenny Field. I would love to have Amy Steele on. Anyway, after we see Jenny and Paul limp and not give Jason a kill shot and instead limp away from the love shack, we are shown Jason crawl away and get one of the best 80s title cards and opening music I may have ever seen. For real, I fucking loved those credits. We cut to a small country store owned by a middle-aged couple, Harold and Edna. And look, I mean, maybe you guys have this in your notes, but are you kidding me? They tried to make Sherry Moggins ugly, and yeah, that didn't work. Like, no way Harold outkicked his covers that much. Sorry. But Edna watches a newscast telling about the murder that happened last movie and catches a glimpse of the man behind the mask himself. After some light stalking, Jason catches Harold mid-shitter without wiping his ass, by the way. Fucking sick-ass bastard. in the chest with a meat cleaver. Go ahead, Nico.
Yep, just want to start off saying happy Friday the 13th again to all of our listeners. Thanks for tuning in as always. We love going back to our logo. Shout out to Brian for designing that logo. It's amazing. We get a recap of the end of part 2, so I don't have many thoughts to start. Like Brian mentioned, go check out that review on our website or anywhere you listen. Honestly, though, this entire recap could have been cut or trimmed up. We've seen this movie already. This takes up a good 5 to 8 minutes. I couldn't tell you because I had the Blu-ray, and when I paused it, it wouldn't tell me what time mark it was, so fuck my Blu-ray. The score is groovy as hell. Shout out to Harry Manfredini. As always, he's goated. This isn't a nitpick, but it does stand out. The variety of color of sheets that are hung up on that clothesline. What the hell is going on with all that? But I guess you like a little razzle-dazzle during the summertime.
That's
I ain't
right,
hating
brother.
it. I wish the film picked up here in Edna and Harold's house, honestly, with the news playing. This is a way better start to using that entire part 2 recap. We did not need that. No clue how Edna doesn't see Jason, honestly. Harold has on a tan shirt with a white long sleeve undershirt. How does she not notice that the other guy she saw has a long sleeve green shirt? Like, give me a break. Edna, she's just not a pleasant person. What did that bunny do to her? No reason to call it a filthy animal. That was just mean. The snake strike is the first of many bad 3D shots. I'm not going to harp on those too long. I get wanting to do something a little different with the franchise. And like me and Brian have already mentioned, it does add some charm. Like, it makes it stand out. I didn't need to see Harold sitting on that toilet, though. Jesus Christ. Could have used different angles at the very least.
Wipe your
We
ass.
saw
Wipe
him-
your ass.
Yeah.
He ends up dead anyway. He ends up dead
What
with a
the hell?
shitty ass. I mean, what's the problem?
Harold gets the old meat cleaver to the chest. Jason said just the tip of it, though. Barely got any of that blade into him. I somewhat question if that was deep enough to kill him, though. Decent set of opening scenes. I feel like the recap was really unnecessary. And Jason did play with his food a lot, but it wasn't terrible.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of mentioned this like 80s charm on our open. I mean, I kind of start with that in my notes. I mean, just that old Paramount logo kind of gives you the warm fuzzies. Like, ah, man, we're really going to settle in for one of these old time slasher films. I thought that, it's fun. And I know it's Kill Mama or whatever. No, it's Kiki Mama. Everyone fucking knows. God damn it. We could clearly hear it. Anyway, I'm going to disagree with Nico slightly. I actually like the fact that these first 4 show the end of the previous film. Now, as a standalone, I get that it wastes time. It's kind of annoying. Can we move on? But when you're watching them, binging them, which I've done twice, it does help. Or it kind of like makes it feel like I'm watching a show in succession where, oh, okay, this is going to pick up where this left off. I think it helps a little bit. But it also just reminds me how much I like part 2. So there's that. I kind of, there's sometimes like, oh man, I would just like to watch part 2 again. Hashtag Team Sack is back, baby. Even for a small glimpse, just laying that out there. Jenny was a great final girl. Anyway, these credits take a really long time, but they are 80s as hell, man. With the 3D, which you can tell if you're watching a not 3D version that they were made for 3D. I don't want to harp on that with every single time they do it, but it's very clear and very evident. But again, I get the complaints, but with someone for CTE that hadn't seen 2 since we did it for the show, I'm like, oh, okay, great. This is where we left off. That is a massive fucking rabbit. Like that is dude, I don't know if it's from the area of the country I'm from where rabbits are just like kind of the size of, a normal fucking rabbit. I don't know where they got this goddamn thing from. That's crazy. The score, the music, and the shots from behind where you're in the mode of the killer a little bit are all-time classics, but it's just hard to say that with the snake jump scare really work today, right? Like, I mean, there's just been so much different ways that the cat has been skinned where you're like, this doesn't feel original when you watch it. It's fun. You have fun with it, but it feels like, okay, I'm watching the same thing over and over again, which is fine. I will say more meat cleavers as weapons, though. It's a fucking good weapon. I'd like to see more kills of meat cleavers. But like Nico said, not quite deep enough. Heyo.
I love the quiet open and then the score coming in softly. Then we get that recap of part 2 that I'm not sure we need. It goes on way too long. We've seen the second one, and if I wanted to see this again, I'd watch that movie. Let's move on. 6 minutes of it. And then we finally get our groovy 3D title card and opening credits accompanied by a bitchin' score. Hell yeah, I love that.
Hell yeah. Hell
But
yeah.
even those are ridiculously long. I mean, we're just shy of 8 minutes into the movie, and we've seen nothing yet. I think it was 7 minutes and 43 seconds, Nico, if you were really wanting to know, because mine, I did hit the info button and saw that. Harold's wife seems like a real cunt. Death would be a sweet escape for him. But you got to love the exaggerated way that he holds the pole towards the camera for the sole purpose of the 3D shot. It's the first of many instances of that we get. Cool brief look at Jason without a mask while he moves betwixt the sheets on the clothesline. And then her Madden awareness would be a 2 overall, though. Like, how did she not see Jason standing right there, like you said, Nico? Her peripherals not work? Remind me to never shop at Harold's grocery store. Motherfucker just sampling the inventory and putting it back on the shelves with his nasty ass. Hell no. The snake in the rabbit cage. Come on, bro. Clearly, and I mean clearly, you could see the wire that made it lunge forward. And it was obviously not a live snake. I mean, it was awful. I get they wanted to get some 3D shit in, but that was egregious. Then Harold gets the cleaver to the chest. I don't know. It's not the best start to this one. We know Jason is alive, so the whole stalking bit with him in the shadows doesn't need to go on this long. And Harold and his wife, what was her name again? Kumar? Anyway, they're not central characters in our story, so we didn't need to spend so much time with them. And the whole 8-minute waste of time to start was insane, but we do get a kill and we're off and running.
Wow. All right. Edna gets up from watching her game show to call for Harold after hearing the sound. And as we search around, she is stabbed through the door with one of her own knitting needles. He presumably steals some clothes there, and we cut to the Scooby van, where we meet a fresh new group of teenagers on their way to Higgins Haven. Chris Higgins, who was attacked near Higgins Haven 2 years prior and is returning in a desperate attempt to get past the attack. Along with Chris are some of her friends, including the pregnant woman named Debbie, her boyfriend Andy, Shelley Finkelstein, played by a friend of the show, Larry Zerner, interview, don'tgooutthere.com, and a stoner couple named Chuck and Chili as they stop to pick up a blind date that the group has apparently set up for Shelley, Miss Vera Sanchez. They rush back to the van thinking it's on fire, but find out it's just Chuck and Chili doing some of the marijuanas in the, what are those called? Bongs? Pipes? I don't fucking know. They avoid a run-in with the cops, and they all eat their stash of weed, only to find out the cops were flying by somewhere else and past the country store where we saw the couple killed last group of scenes. They come across a very cleaned-up bum named Abel lying in the middle of the road who warns them about the area and tells them to turn back to whence they came while flailing a human eyeball. Okay? And sidebar, I played that Friday the 13th PlayStation 4 game so much I know this fucking layout of Higgins Haven like the back of my hands. My favorite map. Anyways, Chris is greeted by Rick, who looks old enough to be her father, and gives her an unwanted kiss, to which he replies, "Just got cold in here." While the others go skinny dipping already, and we aren't shown a damn bit of it. I thought this was the 80s. What's going on? But Chris shows Debbie and Andy the room with no bed that they'll be staying in, and we cut back to Rick basically telling Chris that it's horny o'clock. They need to set aside 3 hours a day to hide the sausage, and she needs to get with it. They hear a scream, and after some searching, it appears to just be dumbass Shelley, who hasn't read the room and is playing a practical joke where he pretends that he was killed with a meat cleaver shoved into his head. Vera asks to take Rick's car to go to the store, and Chili calls him an asshole. And listen, I died laughing when they said, "It's the cops." And Andy goes, "What?" It sounds just like when something crazy is going on here. And Dustin says that. I'm not lying. I laughed so fucking hard. Go ahead.
I thought Edna's kill was good, but I did wonder, is a sewing needle a Halloween nod, perhaps? Chris, played by Dana Kimmel, I'll say now, is underrated as a final girl in this franchise to me. And whew, she's gorgeous. I'm a fan. Hot take, I think Shelley, played by a friend of the show, Larry Zerner, is overhated. He's not that annoying to me. Kevin Scanlon, teammate of the show, said that he's just as annoying as Franklin in Texas Chainsaw. That is blasphemous, my friend. He is nowhere near as annoying as that guy. Chuckled at them thinking the van's on fire. They really didn't know these folks were hotboxing? Like, ain't y'all all friends? Y'all didn't know these guys was smoking the marijuanas? I know this group is furious, though. They ate up most of their weed in a false alarm from the cops. I'd be pissed. Rewatching this scene with the crazy man in the road asleep made me think of American Horror Story 1984 all over again, running over that hitchhiker. I do think it feels a little forced, but I guess you had to have another crazy Ralph kind of scene. I think it could have been cut personally. Just keep things moving. This isn't related to the film, but the era in which it was made. I can imagine growing up in the 80s as a teenager, early 20s, being so fun. The vibes just seem so immaculate, just going swimming, maybe Puff the Magic Dragon, good times. Cute scene between Chris and Rick in the barn, but my goodness, that was a loud scream and score out of nowhere. Shout out to Randy Orton. Was it too far of a practical joke? Yeah, probably. But it was good looking effects by Shelley, I thought. I think it was fun.
Nico,
Stop hating on my man.
You said cute. You said cute again. Last two in a row.
I thought the Edna kill was fine as well. Still, you could tell it was hacked to death by the MPAA. You mentioned the Halloween nod, which I also have here. You could almost argue, and maybe way back, okay, but the first really old meta slasher in a way. I mean, let's think about it. We talked about, you talked about the kill with Edna, but Shelley's whole character in this movie is a nod to the fact that horror movies exist in this universe. He's got a mask. He's got a weapon, a meat cleaver to the face. And I know you could argue, it's just the stories they hear out of this camp that they're going to, but I don't know. I think it holds true where there's just a little bit of meta-ness to this part of Shelley's character. Wants to be an actor, and he's clearly influenced by the slasher films of the time. Also, these two fucking guys are Cheech and Chong stand-ins, man. They're even dressed like Cheech and Chong, dude. And I don't know if the timeline adds up, but it has to, right? These are clearly how some movies of the time had those Jay and Silent Bob stand-ins, even though it wasn't really Jay and Silent Bob. Same thing here, where it's all right, these two are supposed to be representative of Cheech and Chong. I thought it was pretty meta, which, hashtag Mike loves meta, so I was a fan of it. This guy sleeping in the middle of the road, the eyeball, I always thought that was so unnecessary. Like Nico said, let's keep that thing moving, man. I don't really like that. I will say one thing I do love about all of these early Friday films is the summer camp setting. I never get tired of it. And I know that was kind of a complaint for a lot of people, and then it does get repetitive. I understand that. But like the Fear Street film, I just really like it as a setting for a horror movie. I think it works really, really well. Maybe because it makes me nostalgia for that time. For a time I was not alive for, so that's kind of funny. But it makes me, kind of pine for that time. I liked it. The cold showers line was hilarious to me. Hey man, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Nico, I don't completely agree with you that Shelley is overhated, but as an older guy, I can relate to him not wanting to swim with his shirt off, because I've been there. I was a fat kid that didn't want to swim without a shirt on. Man, I was a swim with the shirt on guy until I lost some weight. So I understand you, Shelley. I feel your pain, man. Yeah. Again, I think this is a fine set of scenes, but starting to kind of feel like every other Friday the 13th movie already, which Dustin already said in his opening, this is kind of a meh cast of teens to me. This is nothing super memorable outside of Shelley. So,
for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
First of all, you guys mentioned Abel. David Wiley, who played Abel, he was also in Touch of Scandal with Tom Skerritt, who was in Field of Lost Shows with David Arquette, just so y'all know that. We get a dumb jump scare with the rat, and then more stuff that's only shot in the way it was for 3D, the arrow in Jason's hand and the kid's baseball bat. Thank God this is the only film in the franchise that was shot for 3D. Then we meet the worst character in the franchise, Shelley. The English language doesn't contain words strong enough to accurately convey my hatred for him. It's not it's just the way his character is written. I'm gonna pull a stupid prank that an 8-year-old will pull, and then, oh, why does no one like me? Oh, you're way out of my league. You would never like me. Fuck off, dude. You little whiny bitch. The dialogue and the way the teens are written in this movie is pretty standard, aka bad. Nothing special or redeeming about them. Then another dumb jump scare when Rick grabs her when Chris walks in the cabin. And another one when Shelley scares Chris at the van. The door is open and she's looking in it. She didn't see him? Fuck out of here. And then when they're in the barn, Rick's whole, I'm just a dumb old country boy. That line was dumb as hell, annoying as hell. Then we get a blood-curdling scream, only for it to be Shelly's bitch ass playing a prank. The rough start continues for this one.
As Vera pulls out of the barn in the V-dub, Shelly flags her down and begs to tag along, to which Vera reluctantly agrees. We see Chris and Debbie share a quick walk and talk through the field before we cut to the store, where we get a techno soundtrack kick in, and Vera is told they don't accept no food stamps. Vera and Shelly get into a bit of a dust-up with a biker gang over Shelly's wallet inside the store before the three let them go, only to have their leader, Ollie, meet them outside and see Shelly's dumbass back into their bike. He gets Shelly to stop the car somehow and proceeds to fuck up 2 windows before he's able to get away, turn around, and then barely run over one of their tires like he did something big. Back at the cabin, we get some more cheesy 3D fun as Andy plays with a yo-yo. And honestly, I know you don't like this stuff that was made for 3D, but to me, it kind of makes this particular entry unique. And I just can picture the theater crowd from back then just going, whoa, like every time somebody, I don't know. I think it's cool. Shelly and Vera arrive back at the Haven, and Rick is less than happy to see the glass broken in his car. Chris and Rick decide to take the old beater for a drive to let Rick cool down. We are shown someone lurking in the shadows as Debbie and Andy decide to go for a swim, and we see that person is a member of the biker gang who have siphon equipment, and their plot for evening the score seems to be taking some gas from the van and burning down the barn. Diabolical. Unbeknownst to them, however, it's Friday the 13th, motherfucker, and Jason has other plans. And, well, actually, it's Sunday the 15th, if we're being accurate with the timeline. But anyway, one of the gang members, Fox, decides to do some major gang destruction in the barn, which consists of kicking over a bale of hay, and Jason dispatches her with the stealth and haste of a fucking ninja, albeit off-screen, but kind of right in front of the white gang member, Loco. He has to take off his jacket to climb the ladder, looking for Fox, and finds her ass pinned to the rafters as well as a pitchfork of his own to the midsection. I think Dustin asked for more pitchfork, and motherfucker Jason has answered.
Hell yeah.
Finally, Ollie heads to the barn where Jason tosses Loco's body at him, and he grabs a machete and tries to take on the legend himself, and oh, that's a fucking mistake. Jason dodges a machete slash, then backhands Ollie, knocking him out cold, William Shatner style. While he's on the fucking ground, Jason goes to work, and hacks him up with a fucking cleaver. We see first-person perspective as Jason watches Debbie and Andy almost enter the barn out of curiosity, but most importantly, we see Andy walking on his hands. Very important later. Now nightfall, we then cut to Chris and Rick sitting by the pond, and Rick basically asks why she's been a cockblock now, and that's it for this set of scenes.
It's good to hear Debbie support Chris. We're all in this together. I think that's a great line. I think a group of friends need to be in this together. I like that. Larry Zerner with a nice 3D wallet toss. Fun fact, Larry Zerner is in this movie because he was spotted handing out flyers for a horror movie and asked if he wanted to be in one himself. I got that from the Internet Movie Database. I audibly laughed at Ali yelling, "Oh shit," when Shelly goes to run over their bikes. This is the epitome of that 80s acting, that charm. Like, it's terrible acting in hindsight, but it came from the 80s, so it's great. Loco's jeans, cuffed as much as they are, cracked me the hell up. Dude, just buy some shorter jeans, man. Like, you bought them joints at least, 8 inches too long? That was egregious. And no clue at all why Fox felt the need to go into the barn other than, let's add more kills to the movie. Could say that about all three of the biker gang members, though, honestly. I want to reiterate this as Loco goes into the barn now. I don't hate the bikers being killed off, but as a reviewer, is this necessary? No, not really. Fox's death reveal with pitchfork through the neck is cool. No clue how she got up there, though. But I ask, is that another nod to Halloween, perhaps? Loco falls on Ali, who got stabbed in the gut with a pitchfork, but has no blood on his shirt. Alrighty then. Like, how does he not have any blood on him? Like, he just got stabbed in the fucking gut. And then Jason clubbing Ali over and over on the ground. Dude, I'm crying laughing at this. The thudding noise while he's punching him, I'm dying. That shit was hilarious.
Food stamps were a thing in the 80s. I was unfamiliar with their game. I had no idea. And I'm not talking shit. I just didn't know. Um, man, this biker gang thing it's smelly, man. I can't help it. It does absolutely nothing for me. I think they're kind of useless characters. And what kind of biker game wants someone to call them ma'am or sir? Like, okay, what the fuck is like? I know it's about power, but that seemed odd to me. Then Shelly, instead of driving around this motherfucker, drives right to this motherfucker so he can break in his window. Like, all right, bad horror movie character shit. I do like that he kind of circles back and runs over his tire or his wheel. I appreciate that. I believe that our franchise ranking episode, I complained about this shed being like a Jason lair or just like, I wasn't a fan of the shed idea. With a little bit of hindsight, I don't hate it as much as I did. It works as something being a little bit different than the first two and the next one. I do like a pitchfork as a weapon. I've said that a million times on this show. But like you said, Nico, no blood, just a porch pick or a pitchfork stab. They just gotta hack these fucking kills. It pisses me off. Also, last thing, you couldn't pay me to go back to a camp where I know that people were murdered ruthlessly by a guy with a sack on his head. And there's also just like this weird tension between these two. They like obviously hint that they're involved, but they don't actually get too involved in this movie. Just, I don't know, super odd. But that's all I had.
First of all, Mike, food stamps were a part of FDR's
Thank you,
New
buddy.
Deal, 1939.
Honestly, didn't know they were part of the New Deal. I know enough about New Deal, but I didn't know food stamps were there.
No way in hell I'd let Shelly go to town with me. No, fuck off. I'm driving. But the scene with the biker thugs at the store was cringe as fuck. And I got to tell you, in a movie with a zombie serial killer, the most unbelievable thing is that Shelly would have a rubber in his wallet. That kind of wishful thinking is outrageously unrealistic. Then when one biker smashes the window, we get another made for 3D shot. And again with a yo-yo. Yawn. Then if you want to know why Rick's dumb old country boy line bothered me so much, that's his VW Beetle. And I've never met a country boy in my 36 years of Tennessee living who wears a sweater over the shoulders like that. Anyway, mixed bag altogether with the biker gang. Their characters only existed to give us more kills on the kill count, and we do get some decent ones. I do like Jason stalking the chick in the barn, but he didn't seem creepy enough to me. Like, I wish Richard Brooker played him more menacingly here when he's in the background there, and his clothes were way too nice and new and clean to be believable that's Jason Voorhees standing there. Then when the gang is trying to stay quiet and old girl wants to swing and scream on the hayloft, fuck it, please, come on. Pitchfork through the throat was cool. Wish we'd have seen it, though. At least we get to see the next one. Kind of a better set of scenes. Most of the characters suck, but at least we're focusing on our main group now, and we got some more kills.
Well, I know it's weird that he had clean clothes, but in story wise, at least they explained it as pretty much he just got it when he killed Edna and is it Harold? I can't remember who it was.
Yeah.
And Mike, you mentioned that you couldn't pay you to go back to a camp, but this is actually Higgins Haven. It's not at
Fair,
Camp Crystal
fair.
Lake. It just shares some of the lake.
Fair.
We open up with Andy and Shelly juggling, and Debbie sabotages the whole thing because, according to Dustin, women hate fun. Shelly desperately wants Vera to like him at this point, and after being shut down and calling her a bitch, we see him left to his own vices as we cut upstairs, where Andy and Debbie are ready to get hot and heavy in the hammock. They both disrobe, and to the dismay of all the people watching, we cut back now to Mr. and Mrs. Bored as fuck, Chris and Rick, still at this fucking lake with their VW Bug headlights still on like fucking geniuses. Gonna be replacing that battery soon, son. Mr. old Stan Gable, and that's actually a Revenge of the Nerds reference, by the way, and it's funny that you talked about the sweater tied around his neck, because that's exactly what I thought of. Those nerds are a threat to our way of life. Chris proceeds to tell us of a very dramatic incident 2 years prior, although they'd been saying months before, I thought, when she had an argument with her parents and ran away from home in order to teach them a lesson. While in the woods, still looking the same age as now, we're shown and told of an incident where she survived Jason and blacked out and has no idea what happened, waking up in her own bed, which definitely sounds exactly like Jason, putting victims back safely in their bed right after the story. And right after the story, right on cue, the headlights die and Rick blames the battery like it isn't his fault at all. and they're going to have a walk back. They're going to have to walk back now because Rick knows a pretty good shortcut. Meanwhile, back at the cabin, Chuck walks to the outhouse to take a shit and partake in the marijuanas via a doobie, while Chili waits inside. Mid shit, we get our second instance of someone in this movie getting up and not wiping their ass as the outhouse starts shaking, and Chuck spots someone walking across the way that he mistakes for Shelly. Chili meets him outside, doesn't smell his shitty ass, and the two go after him in the barn, looking to give. So that was hard to read and not laugh. Looking to give him a dose of his own medicine. After looking in one stall, the two leave and head back inside. Back at the dock, we're shown a Vera very clearly avoiding Shelly's stupid ass when a hand pops up, bit my hand off, cut me down to my prime. Sorry, that was Happy Gilmore. Despite the music cue, though, it's just Shelly's stupid ass playing another prank on Vera, but this time dressed in a full dive suit, very popular hockey mask that we will come to know and love. And after being down on himself, sandbagging Shelly heads off to pout and hears a sound apparently 100 yards away in the barn. After a jump scare, we cut back to Vera at the lake. She realizes she still has Shelly's wallet and accidentally drops it in the lake. She enters the lake. I said lake like 45 times in the last 4 seconds. She enters the lake to retrieve it when Jason walks up now, donning Shelly's hockey mask and spear gun, firing it from 20 yards out and gets Vera in the face. We're then shown a great shot of Jason looking back at the lodge. Woo! Go ahead, Nico.
Back-to-back movies with the ladies taking initiative, sexy time-wise. Part 2, Lauren Marie Taylor was aching. Now Tracy Savage. We love to see it. And it's funny because last week on Black Mirror, Amy was hurting for it too. And if y'all didn't listen to our DGOT, the series episode, ladies, us guys, we like it when y'all make the initiative and y'all want the sexy time. Do that. We appreciate it. But anywho, back to this movie. Vera shoots Shelly down, goes outside to take a walk, then wants to talk to Shelly when she gets back. Damn, just let him down now. You don't got to hurt the man even more, no matter how aggravating he is. Sex in a hammock does not look pleasurable at all, I got to admit. Per the Internet Movie Database, I'm quite thankful they decided not to go the sexual assault route with Jason on Chris. They said it was too dark of a route for the character, and I agree. It's also just not fitting. Like, yeah. I think all of that should have just been cut. Then she says she woke up in her own bed. That just doesn't make sense for the Jason character. Just cut all this and speed up this runtime a little bit. Yep. Real talk, no clue how Chuck and Chili aren't high enough to be in outer space right now. Didn't they eat some of their marijuana after smoking some and now smoking more? My God, they should be on Pluto by now. Yeah. My man Shelly is a broken man, but yeah, bro, you can't be acting fake murdered and then scaring the shit out of Vera and expecting it to help her like you. You got to read the room. I get why Dustin doesn't like him, but I guess I used to be that little goofy nerd guy too who didn't have girls liking him, so maybe I relate a little bit I had my glow up that hasn't happened yet. Excuse me, unnecessary jump scare as Shelly goes into the barn with the coyote head I wrote, tied up in a rope, falling. Like, those are the kind of jump scares that I hate. Makes no fucking sense. It's honestly hard to believe Goofy Shelly ended up becoming a lawyer and a brilliant mind in real life. Shout out to Larry Zerner. He's super smart. If y'all haven't listened to our interview or any of his interviews, he's actually a really smart guy to talk to. Vera with zero awareness or escapability on the Madden rating. Lady just stood there and got shot in the eyeball. That kill always sticks out to me when I think about this movie from my childhood. And anything that involves eyes in horror movies, like getting stabbed in the eye, shot in the eye, it's always so cringe and it's just hard to look at.
This set of scene starts with two guys juggling. Man, we've jumped the shark. This is like Halloween 5 funny music or clown music for the cops. But Andy got carried away from the juggling to do some other kind of juggling, brother. So I tip my cap to him. He knew where to put the balls down. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, our man Shelly has zero aura. He's got no game. And I could relate earlier, but not there. I'm not going to out myself. I've done well over the years, with having a little, maybe not anymore. I'm old. I'm losing my hair. But outside of that, I still have a little bit of game, man. Anyway, Nico mentioned sex in a hammock. Got to be one of the worst places. I cannot imagine the back and forth swinging pendulum while you're trying to do your business. That sounds terrible. The only thing I have wrong with this set of scenes is I lose interest in anything at this point in the film that doesn't have to do with Jason killing people. Like that is like any kind of side plot, any kind of little deviation from that. I'm like, ugh, all right, can we get to the back to the killing? That's what we're here for. But again, I had Creature of the Black Lagoon flashbacks with this Shelley nonsense, which, hey man, that movie was terrible. This movie's significantly better than that one. So anyway, this was annoying. I completely understand it from Vera. I mean, you already kind of had her looking at you a little bit with, kind of going back and running over that guy's bike. At least she was like, all right, maybe this guy's not so bad. Then you pull this shit. No, man, that's a slap in the face. I didn't like it. Zero riz, as the kids say, from our guy there. Again, now I will say, not cool to drop this man's wallet in water, man. That is some baby bag bullshit. That's every time I wash mine, I have to get a new one. It's been a while, but every time I wash it, I end up having to get a new one. So I know how terrible that is. Finally get to debut the iconic mask. Not as iconic as hashtag Team Sack, but that's neither here nor there. I will say the harpoon in the eye is a creative kill. I did like that. I thought it was very fun, very iconic in its own way. So at least it ended on a high note.
The only time he used the harpoon better was on that trip to Manhattan.
All right.
God damn. And then also, Mike, you said you can't think of a place worse to have sex in a hammock. I can. How about your downstairs kitchen while the kids are in the house?
Hold on. I said I can't think of many places. I can think of a few places better.
Okay. Well, the kitchen while the kids are in the house and not.
Man,
Still would. Still would.
Anyway, talk about pulling up from full court with a full shot clock. Shelley, in no world would you have a shot with her, especially on your first day that you met her after the bullshit you pulled earlier. And then you call her a bitch? There's only one bitch here, pal. Look in the mirror to see it.
Wow.
I laughed when Andy said, how do we do it? And Debbie said, first we take our clothes off and then you get on top of me, or I could get on top of you. That's my brand of sarcasm. Love that line. I like the way it was shot when Chris was telling her story about Jason getting her in the woods. The two scenes overlaid with each other looked cool, and it showed us the scene while also letting us see her emotions. I thought that was really well done. And I don't hate that we get more looks of Jason without his mask because it wasn't shown, clearly or directly. But I do agree that whole subplot there, it's unnecessary. We don't need that. Decent tension when Leo from that 70s show is in the outhouse, and then he and his lady go searching for Jason. And it's followed up by Shelley's bitch ass pulling another prank. At least he contributes something, though. He's wearing something that will change the course of history for the franchise and the genre in general, that hockey mask. Then we get the best usage of 3D in the whole movie, the spear gun, the harpoon. Hell yeah. So I don't know. I'm enjoying it more through this point of the movie than I was early on.
There we go. We open up with Debbie and Andy post-coitus, and Debbie continues to demean my man by telling him that the hammock was the reason that sex was so good. She's going to go take a shower. He should try it sometime. God damn. Andy scares her in the shower, standing on his hands again like a goober who doesn't deserve Debbie, and asks if she wants a beer. He then leaves the room, walking on his hands, and we're given a kill that has made my top 10 kills of all time list in the franchise as Jason chops his ass in half while still upside down, slicing him right down the middle. Meanwhile, Debbie, who apparently only washes her arms over and over again in the shower, if you noticed, is finally finished and exits the bathroom into the bedroom. She sits down in the hammock to read a magazine, only for blood to drip down, allowing her to discover Andy's corpse hanging from the rafters. Before she can even scream, she's Kevin Baconed from the first one as Jason takes a pointer from his mama and drives a kitchen knife through her chest from underneath the hammock. Unaware of the cabin of carnage, Chris and Rick are lost in the woods, but we immediately cut back to Chuck and Chili, who are making disgusting sex jokes and making popcorn when the lights go out suddenly. Chuck heads to the basement to check the fuse after having his manhood questioned by Chili. She needs to chill. He looks at least 55. Guy's going to have a heart attack. We cut back to Chili, who opens the door for Shelley, who walks in, appearing to have his throat slit, to which Chili does not buy for a second. And Larry Zerner did talk about this scene with us on our interview. Seriously, go check it out. It's worth it. He's a great dude, like Nico said, even if his character is a dipshit, like Dustin said. Back in the basement, Jason is lurking And while talking to himself, Chuck is slammed into the electrical box, killing him. We cut back to Chili, who has now realized that Shelly is actually dead, and she goes running and screaming around the cabin, calling for Andy and Debbie. Chill runs upstairs, and we see Jason retrieve a fire poker from the fireplace. We hear a scream, and she runs back downstairs, only to be met with said fire poker a la Voorhees kebab. Chris and Rick arrive at the cabin and go inside, finding it oddly quiet. Puzzled, after trying some light switches, Rick, for some stupid ass reason, looks around outside and has his head crushed in with a fucked up looking 3D eye effect by Jason. While Chris goes upstairs and finds a bathtub full of what I can only assume is Debbie's blood, and the next set of scenes is the ending.
I was flabbergasted by Debbie. She's hating on my guy Andy for no reason. Take a shower. You should try it sometime. That was egregiously mean for no reason. Andy with very little effort to escape Jason as well. I got to be honest, I'm disappointed by the effort I'm seeing on the game tape to get away from Jason. Also, not sure why Debbie seems so sketched out by Andy not answering. He said he was going to go get a beer. It's justified that he's not around answering you right now. Nice touch having her read a Fangoria magazine featuring the great Tom Savini, who's done the effects for several Friday the 13th movies. I think Andy's effects look great, as does Debbie's kill. But I have no clue how the blood took that long to start dripping. Like, this movie just said, fuck anything making sense. Give me something to scream about. Damn, the women are cold-blooded in this movie, man. Be a man. That's right. Go into that basement high as hell. Be a man in the dark. I love it. Chuck's electrocution death, it stinks to me. It looks terrible, and I don't think it's acted well either. Chili with some over-the-top acting, but it's hilarious. The door flying open out of nowhere is hilarious as well. And her death by fire poker, I thought was a cherry on top. Rick is right there and doesn't use enough urgency to get Chris's attention, in my opinion. Like, all he's got to do is just, start kicking his legs out. Like, put up more of a fight. Like, come on, man. And I can't forgive the 3D effects on this one. The eye pop out, that just looks terrible. I don't care if it's 1983 or not. That shit looks terrible. And Debbie, did she never turn the shower head off? Or is Jason on some Wet Bandit vibes leaving the faucet on? That's a Home Alone reference, Mike.
And a boy.
Motherfucker. I'm the only Christmas guy on this show. Go fuck yourself. Anyway, like you mentioned, Nico, all this woman does is insult him after trying to jump his bones all night to take a shower. Nah, man, go fuck yourself. What you can't do is untake it. That's all I'm saying. You already did that. You can call me smelly. You can call my game poor, whatever. Can't undo what you did, so it doesn't matter. My man, look, after seeing this split crotch kill, my man Art the Clown stole Jason's whole flow, word for word, bar for bar. Maybe a little bit more brutal, but I saw it here first, brother. It looked like the MPAA didn't completely hack that kill to death, so I appreciated it. A little bit different. Finally showing a little bit of gore here. There's some solid effects on Andy, and they have to have the kill from underneath through somebody's neck, kind of like a flashback to the Kevin Bacon kill in the first one. I thought it was fine. I never understood why the hot knife kill. I've seen hot knives in other movies, but I don't know. It's kind of odd. This wind is really weird to me. All of a sudden, a hurricane came through in the middle of the night. What the fuck is happening here? I was like, all right, you didn't set that up in any way. A storm may be coming. They didn't set any of that up. It's fucking wind gusts. I don't get it. I will say this cliche in all these slasher movies where all the people that are alive are suddenly finding all these dead people all at once. So terrifying. It was all the same. But I thought it was a fun set of scenes with some fun kills here.
So, couple things that bother me. Why did Debbie get out of the shower, wrap a towel around her, close the bathroom door, then get back in the shower? What was the point of the towel? I'm not saying that because she covered up. I'm saying that because no logical person would do that. Then Andy catches a machete to the dick while walking on his hands, and he collapsed dead. I don't know that would kill him so quickly, so instantly. I don't buy that. But pretty cool shot of the blood dripping on the Fangoria magazine and his body folded up above him, and then the knife going through her underneath, a la Kevin Bacon in the first one. So that's good stuff there. It redeemed itself. I love when old girl doesn't believe Shelly is dying because of his pranks earlier. See what happens when you constantly fuck around? The finding out occurs. Action and tension are ramped up in this set of scenes, and I love it. And I'll say, a red hot fire poker through the abdomen sounds terrible. Really weird seeing Jason holding Rick's mouth. That's not his MO. Like, he would have just killed him sooner. So I'm not sure why he was trying to muffle him and keep him quiet. That I didn't buy that. But my God, the 3D eye popping out was awful. Holy shit, that looked bad. I'm ready for the finish at this point.
Listen, Nico said egregious, so I'm not going to say it. I'm going to say horrifyingly long. Because I fucked up, guys. I fucked up on this last set of scenes. It's too damn long, so bear with me. Chris goes outside yelling for Rick and finds one of the gang members' Loco's body, which happens to fall from a tree. Horrified, she runs back inside and tries to barricade the door and lock all of the windows because it's apparently a hurricane outside suddenly, just like Mike said. When all of a sudden, surprise, motherfucker, Rick's corpse is heaved through the window, and Jason proceeds to enter the cabin via the brand new opening in the glass. Running from Jason, Chris goes upstairs and drops an entire bookshelf of books on him, which sounds more dramatic than it really was, to slow down the behemoth. She then hides inside a linen closet where she finds Debbie's corpse planted for the ultimate scare. Chris is super quiet, not true at all, and Jason knows exactly where she is and begins hacking the door. But Chris looks down, pulls the knife from Debbie's corpse, to which she uses to stab Jason in the hand and knee area. To which we hear Jason grunt with pain, which was weird. Chris breaks the window and instead of jumping, decides to hang there, where Jason grabs her jacket, ripping it off for her, sending her to the ground. As Jason goes outside in search of her, Chris hits him in the back of the head, sending him crashing into some wood, and takes off in the Scooby van. Halfway down the dirt road, Chris sees Jason and tries to run over the maniac, but he jumps sideways to evade the incoming van. Those ninja skills are unmatched. Arriving at the bridge, the vehicle stalls due to the bikers siphoning the gas earlier in the movie, allowing Jason to all but catch up. Thankfully, this fucking van is from a Bond movie. Somehow has a reserve gas tank switch. What the fuck is happening now? Well, whatever, she activates that bitch, and the engine starts, but the van is too heavy, and the bridge starts to break, trapping the tires and the van. It is time to activate the Go-Go Gadget Reserve flying fucking tire system now, but she doesn't have another switch for that. Jason grabs her through the van, and she's able to close the window and trap his arms, forcing him to shatter the window via a headbutt. But Chris is able to flee into the woods, tripping on every stone all the way down. She reaches the barn where she runs inside, and the cat and mouse game continues as she hides in the rafters. Jason easily enters the barn, barricades the door a little better to seal them inside, and starts to search for her heavy breathing ass, unknowing that she is hanging in the rafters above. When he spots her, she drops down onto him, and his ninja-like cat skills fail him as he is unable to get out of the way. He picks up a machete, nearly hits Chris, but she is able to evade him via the loft and manages to knock his ass unconscious like the next door neighbor in Home Alone did to the wet bandits via a shovel. Look at that, Nico. Another goddamn Home Alone reference in the same fucking movie. She then wraps his ass in a noose. Believing that Jason is finally dead, Chris exits the barn and opens the barn doors to reveal Jason hanging motionlessly. Oh, but nay, he is not dead yet. To her horror, Jason shows himself to be still alive and slides up his mask to make room for him to escape the noose, allowing his deformed face to show in the process. Chris recognizes Jason as a madman who attacked her 2 years before. Jason advances towards Chris and raises his machete to kill her, but before he can finish her off, Allie, badly injured, somehow still alive, suddenly appears and pointlessly struggles with the beast known as Jason. Predictably, the maniac overpowers him again, chopping off his right arm and hacking him to death multiple times via machete. While Jason is busy with Allie, Chris picks up a nearby axe, apparently a woodchopper from way back herself, and sneaks up behind the ruthless killer. Just as Jason begins to turn his attention back towards Chris, she buries the axe into his forehead, just the tip. Even with this wound, he still lunges forward trying to grab Chris, but suddenly collapses, supposedly dead. She even slightly tilts his head to make sure that he is down for real. Chris stumbles down to the lake shore and rows away in a canoe. Because what else do you do after a night of surviving fucking massacre? Sleep in a fucking canoe, apparently. And the next morning comes where Chris takes some small scares due to some ducks and some other ambient sounds near her. She is then horrified to see an unmasked and bloody Jason glaring at her through the cabin windows, and then barges out of the door like the fucking Kool-Aid man, running towards her. After frantically trying to escape, Chris looks up to see that the cabin door is intact. Jason is nowhere to be seen. It was just an hallucination. But her relief soon ends when the rotted corpse of Pamela Voorhees leaps out of the lake, dragging Chris underneath the surface of the water. Chris later wakes up realizing that it was all a nightmare and the movie will just fucking not end. The last scene shows a policeman escorting a traumatized Chris out of the cabin and into a police car. As she screams and laughs hysterically, the audience wonders if the events cost Chris her sanity. Spoiler alert, they did. Meanwhile, the camera cuts to Jason's motionless body lying among the loft ground, the axe still plunged into his head. The camera makes one final cut to the sinister waters of Crystal Lake. By God, that's it, Nico.
God, that was dramatic as fuck.
Man, I got to go after that too. All right. When the hell did Jason have the time to hang Loco from the tree, and why did his body fall at that moment? To quote one of my favorite guys from TikTok, movies be moving. I always have respect for the Voorhees family choosing to use people as their preferred way of breaking windows. I love that tradition for them. Chris with a great stab to Jason's hand, terrible whiffs slashing at him, but redeems herself with a knee stab. I hate that Jason groans from the pain, though. It's not, sorry, this might be a hot take, but Richard Brooker, it's not the best portrayal of my goat slasher. Chris doesn't fumble with the keys, does not slam on brakes with Jason in the way. A few examples of why she's underrated. The van running out of gas isn't her fault. You can't hold that against her. Jason seen in the background hobbling, running to her is fucking hilarious to me. I was crying, laughing him running at her hobbling. Chris rolls Jason's hand up in the window. Boom, another example of her being resourceful. Jason looks for a full-grown human person, like a person looking for the lost remote control, just grabbing and throwing shit around. I thought it was hilarious. I have to knock some points off of Chris's final girl score, though. Why are you hanging on that beam like a fucking lemur? Like, what are you doing up there? Chris, Randy Orton's Jason with a shovel to the back of the noggin, then puts a noose around his neck and pushes him out the barn. More points added to her final girl score. She is not messing around. She's not playing. I like that. Ali jumping. Damn, I didn't put my fucking line.
No, man, I don't know how you did that.
Damn. Ali jumping out to save Chris. So damn dumb. If you want the axe and the mask look, just have Chris do that, then noose around the neck, push him out the barn. Like, just kill him off earlier or just leave them out. You could have her get in the boat, then have her dream sequence. So many ways to improve upon the execution of this story. Chris is on edge, rightfully so, but it is exhausting seeing her get scared by literally everything going on around her in the lake. Jason's look, and when he kicks down the door, I think is creepy and good, but my God, the mom jumping out of the lake sucks, and I thought it was so unnecessary. Ending shot zooming in on Jason with the axe in his head is cool, but there's no cops around him, no EMTs, nothing. I just find that kind of hard to believe. The end shot of the lake with bubbles, it was meh. I mean, fish, turtles, they all live in lakes. Could have caused that as well. Overall, a flawed, messy movie, but one that I can still have a lot of fun with.
Goddamn, this man had enough strength to throw Rick all the way through the fucking window. Jesus Christ, man. All right. And freaking Jason Voorhees not supposed to grunt. I think this final fight is good and pretty entertaining for what it is, but I don't see it as any different than the last three films. And I know that one was Pam, but I don't know. It all still kind of feels like still feels pretty formulaic. I will say, you know, you hyped her up as a final girl, buddy, but what a dumbass to drive out on this dock. The fuck are we doing, man? In the words of Steve Stifler, what a dumbass. The lake's right there. Anyway, shout out to American Pie 2, one of the goats. 4 minutes of this ending are just Jason walking around, touching stuff, flipping stuff over. Like, all right, that's bloat that runtime a little bit more, why don't you? I will say she hung Jason's ass here, and Jason looked just like, shout out to you guys that know, I know Dustin knows, you other two may as well. fucking motherfucker looked like Big Boss Man in WrestleMania 15 Hell in a Cell. He was fucking kicking his arms and shit like Big Boss Man was. Thought it was hilarious. You actually have to cut this fucker, though. You can't just hang him by a rope. He seems to be pretty powerful and invincible. So I did like the axe to the head. I thought it looked really good. And, I also would have fell asleep in this, or I would have fallen asleep in this canoe as well. But I like the callback. I think it's fun. I kind of mentioned it being pretty formulaic, but to kind of flip it and have this decrepit, dead version of Pam Voorhees jump out, I think is a way to keep the spirit of Pam Voorhees alive without having Betsy Palmer in the film. So I think that's fine. It's not perfect. It's a little hokey, but I didn't hate that part.
Yeah, we get a jump scare when the biker guy's body drops, and I almost forgot about him. Like, what a pointless character. Great shot of Jason climbing through the window after Rick made his great entrance, though. I really like that shot. When Chris went upstairs and hid in the closet, I can't lie. I wish she would have hidden that basket at the end of the hallway, Scooby-Doo style. Like, slam a door to throw him off, climb in the basket, and put a blanket over her head, and she would have been safe. I laughed when her jacket rips and she gets she gets a breather, and instead of making her run for it, she wastes time by taking the jacket off. Like, it's just ripped in the back. It's not hindering you. Fucking run. And okay, I guess the bikers did serve a purpose. Like, if they weren't in the movie, the van would have had plenty of gas and she would have had the dramatic moment on the bridge. Still dumb though. It was hilarious to me when she hit Jason in the head with the shovel. I'm sorry, but that weak ass swing would not knock him out. Don't buy that. We get the axe to the head that gives us the iconic cut in the hockey mask here, which is another positive. Nice tribute to Friday the 13th Part 1 with her getting in the canoe and taking a little tiger snooze. We get one last lame jump scare with that mallard flying in. Hated that. Then we get another solid callback with someone popping out of the water to grab her, but it's, Jason's mom with her head attached? Okay, man. Kind of weird to me. Kind of weird to me that the cops would leave with Jason's body still laying there in the barn. Like, not buying that. So does that mean the rest of these bodies are just scattered about and they're like, fuck this, we're out of here? Okay. But we do follow the formula in this one. Bunch of kills and the final girl gets away.
All right, Dustin, coming right back at you. If you've got Twitter pulled up
Oh, I can.
for our social medias.
We got quite a few. Well, we got a few questions and comments on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. Randy Smith, Go Dogs, said Disco Jason with a gif of Jason dancing. Okay. Kevin Scanlon said, I have this ranked as the 5th best in the franchise. That's not really saying much. I only gave it a 6 out of 10. You get the iconic mask in this, which is a plus, but you had to put up with Shelley's annoying ass for far too long. He may be more insufferable than Franklin from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I agree. I almost read TCM as Turner Classic Movies. What the hell was that about?
Hell yeah, brother.
Sean, the Glee Man, said, there are a few movies I truly hate. This is one of them. There are no redeeming kills. It's boring, and the 3D looks awful. 1.75 out of 10.
Jesus Christ.
And then Nico commented with the big eyes shocked emoji. And Sean said, I have it ranked dead last behind Jason Takes Manhattan.
Insanity.
And then Andrew Ferguson said, my first and favorite Friday the 13th.
Nice.
Duality of man. Duality of man.
That's
He also
right.
said, I know the, quote, get the 3D shot above all else, end quote, takes away from the overall experience, but I don't care. You never forget, in parentheses, Tabitha, your first time.
Nice.
And then the longest one from that guy at Millhouse14108. I read through this earlier and I laughed. So don't make me laugh any more than I'm going to, or I'm going to have to stop and start over. He said, back to the logo. Finally, some good 80s cheese laced with every trope a horror movie can toss at you. Where do I start? This is the film Jason finally gets his iconic mask from a curly-haired, hopeless romantic trying to play Bop It, Twist It, and Pull It with the girl he's fantasized about while putting Mr. Kleenex's kids through college.
Damn.
Meanwhile, Debbie gingerly waters her dairy arrangements as Andy fetches her a beer and walking on his hands, only to have his blue-veined custard chucker turned into a banana split by Jason casually waiting against the wall.
Oh
Now, if that doesn't fire you up to watch this movie, let's add in Rick's eye getting treated by Dr. Pimple Popper Jason making sure Ali can never arm wrestle, the one-eyed vessel again, and then let's not forget Fox inquiring about Shelley's rubber. Phew! All that, and I've left out so much. This film is filled with cheap tricks for 3D viewing, corny dialogue, weak acting, and I fucking love it. Can't wait to hear this review and laugh along with you guys. 8 out of 10 for me, based solely on its entertainment value for me. Love the show, fellas. Appreciate that, brother.
Custard chunker. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
All right. Nico, let's hear what the Graham has to say.
All right, I only got one of them.
Oh.
Making X2 commented, "This was my introduction to the franchise. Summer of '84. I broke my leg when I was 6 years old and bedridden. My sister turned on the TV and left me to watch this movie alone. I wanted to see Rainbow Bright, not some guy doing a handstand getting chopped in half." Hell yeah, brother.
I love that.
That's
All
it.
right, the Book of Faces. Shiana Turner starts off on fire. Fuck you, Nico. Richard Brooker is my favorite Jason. I added the fuck you, Nico part. He's brutal,
I was
menacing.
like, God damn.
He's brutal, menacing, all around scary. I also feel Vera should have been the final girl. By the way, did you know that girl played Vera was in Weekend at Bernie's? I did not. She played his buddy's girlfriend that he was having an affair with. Michelle Mirza, great pick, guys. I love the fact that it's in 3D, and this is the one where he gets the iconic hockey mask. Happy Friday the 13th. Same to you, Michelle. Sean Irwin, back-to-back socials. He's all over the place. Can't wait for y'all to hate me on this one. Too late, Sean. We already hate you. Raymond Rumet. I'm just kidding. That's fucked. I was just joking. Ramon Rodriguez. I can admit this isn't a good movie, but I have a soft spot in my heart for this one. Same, Ramon. I love the 80s 3D boom, and this movie goes over the top. Literally everything is flying at the camera. What are your thoughts about the random story Chris tells that makes it sound like she may have been raped by Jason? Do you feel like that there is a reason behind this? Yeah, I think, was it Nico that mentioned that
Nico
earlier?
went over it, yeah. Glad they cut
should
that
have cut
out.
it out altogether, though. They
Yeah,
should have cut it out altogether.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Got any fun facts going on here?
I have a few.
All right there, Mr. Dustin.
All right. To prevent the film's plot being leaked, the production used the fake title Crystal Japan after a David Bowie song. This began an on-again, off-again tradition of giving Friday the 13th films David Bowie song titles during filming.
Nice.
The original plan for the film involved Jenny, from previous film, being confined to a psychiatric hospital, suffering from the trauma inflicted on her during the ordeal with Jason.
I wish they had that.
She eventually finds that intent on revenge. He has tracked her down, and he begins to murder the staff and other patients at the hospital. Still, ultimately declined the offer to return to the series as she was busy with other projects, but has since said that she thinks she should have accepted. Yeah, no shit. This was the first ever 3D film to receive a major or a wide theatrical release from a major Hollywood studio. That's pretty cool. For the original ending, Chris awakens in the canoe on Crystal Lake after the events of the previous evening left her as the lone survivor. Chris rows the canoe back to shore and begins walking towards the house with an exhausted demeanor. She suddenly hears a noise from the house and, thinking it's Rick, begins to run to the porch of the house. Once she arrives at the front door, it suddenly bursts open and Jason emerges to the surprise of Chris. Jason then grabs Chris by the hair and chops her head off with a machete.
Nice.
I wish we'd have done that.
Nice.
We don't need a final girl. Fuck that. Yeah. And then last one I've got.
She'd have still been a final girl. She'd just been dead.
Well, yeah, we don't need a surviving final
There
girl, I
you
guess is what I meant. Last one is in 2005, a hardcore fan lit a fire in the fake fireplace in the cabin, which resulted in the cabin being burnt to the ground. Fucking idiot.
What
God
a
damn.
dumbass.
Fucking moron.
What a dumbass.
All right, I've got 3, and I can't believe we didn't have any of the same ones. We talked about this earlier about the deaths being neutered. Here's some of the ones that were cut to avoid an X rating from the MPAA. Fucking X rating, crazy. Includes the following: Andy's death, which showed his leg being cut off and then his stomach being ripped open. Vera's death for too much gore and looking too real. Edna's death was cut because of excessive blood flow. Chili's impalement was cut because of a shot showing steaming blood hitting the floor. What the fuck? Debbie's death scene was also trimmed, which originally showed blood running down her chest and splattering on her face. Unbelievable. Body count. This one kind of fucked me up a minute. Body count was 12, but it was 13 counting Debbie's unborn child. What the fuck? Did I miss that she was even pregnant?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
They said it. They said it in the van. I saw that one too, and I meant to bring that up in the in my scene by scene. But she casually mentioned one time like that she's pregnant, and it never comes up again.
Weird.
And was that
Super
necessary? Jesus
No.
Christ.
Necessary?
And
Is it necessary to drink my own urine? No, but I do it anyway.
I do it
It's sterile.
anyway.
I like the taste.
I can sterile and I like the taste.
and the last thing is this is the only film in the series where Jason's name isn't mentioned.
Interesting.
Wow.
Budget time.
Okay, the budget for this film was $2.3 million, and it made a whopping $36.6 million. Hence why we got a part 4 and a part 5 and a part 6, and we're still fucking going. Hopefully, damn it, I'm tired of them holding up the rights. Let's get it. Let's get on with this shit.
A24.
Whoever it is, I don't give a fuck.
All right. Who wants to go first?
Me. I'll go first.
Nico.
Favorite kill is Vera getting shot in the eye. That kill is just so memorable to me. I remember watching, the Friday the 13th movies as a kid, and it was like, damn, she got shot in the eye. It looked so painful. Least favorite kill, I'm torn between two of them. The eye pop out does look awful, but I absolutely hate Chuck getting electrocuted. It does not look like it's sold. Like, it looks so fake. It looks terrible. So I'm going with that one. I'm giving this movie the exact same score as part 2, a 6.25. I do like that we get Hockey Mask Jason, albeit I don't think Richard Brooker is the best portrayal, but at least you get a hockey mask. I like Chris as the final girl, but like all of you mentioned, like this group of teens is not really memorable. Part 4 has a really good cast of teens. Like you remember those people. Decent kills, but nothing too spectacular, but it is a fun watch, one that I could pop on anytime.
All right. I'll go ahead and knock mine out real quick. My favorite kill was Vera. Jason had a steady hand and great marksmanship, and it was the only 3D shot that was kind of cool. And then least favorite kill was Rick. The effects look like absolute asshole. Hell no. Hated that. As for the rating, this movie is, like I said, it's confusing to me because I'll watch it one time and absolutely hate it. I'll watch it next time and like, oh, that's not so bad. This watch through, I ended up giving it a 5.75. So pretty close to Nico's score.
Okay.
Mike, you want?
Yep. My favorite kill was the split crotch kill. I think those are at least creative and unique. My least favorite, take your pick. There's a lot, man. A lot of these ones that are hacked to death. I guess the electrocution one is probably it. If I really had to settle it down to one. Look, I think this is a movie you can have fun with. Very imperfect. Like I said, it kind of feels like the same film on a long line of movies that feel like the same film. But we get the iconic Hockey Mask debut, couple cool kills. It's a fun popcorn slasher to me. All that being said, I give this movie a 6.25.
All right. My favorite kill was definitely Andy. I think it's one of the best in the franchise. My least favorite kill was Shelly. It was off screen. I wasn't a big fan of that one. I think we actually talked about that being off screen in the interview with Larry Zerner. Don't go out there.com. But just quickly, because I'm tired of talking, there's a newly discovered charm that this one has to me, and I like it. I gave one a 7. I gave part 2 an 8.5. I'm going to give this one a 8 as well, as retroactively give part 4, episode 4 of the podcast, an 8.5 as well. So mark me down for an 8, Dustin. I'm having a damn good time rediscovering these movies. Honestly, I can't wait for Friday 5 review now, which looks like December.
Friday part 4.
Well, with Brian's 8, that brought the score up some. It gives us a composite score of a 6.5625, and IMDb has it at a 5.6. Rotten Tomatoes, 11%. It's rotten.
Jesus.
Damn, they hate me.
Any
Yeah, they hating over
Fuck you guys. Fuck you guys.
All right, man.
They meant 11 out of 10. 11 out of 10. I think that's what they meant.
Well,
All right, guys. Any final thoughts on Friday 13th Part 3, Fresh Out of the Blood Donors?
Nope.
All right. Appreciate all of our blood donors. Y'all take a big burden off of us. Legendary blood donor Dana Tucker 3 times. And we still have 2 reviews left to do. Really appreciate you. Camper level reoccurring Nina, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Alex Seligson, Steve Schmidt, and Michelle Mirza. Camp counselor reoccurring Edwin Hernandez Gunn, Joe Swinford, Adrian Aiello, Brian Samick, Andrew Ferguson, Brooke Maley, Thorne, David Phillips, Heather Superdoc, Jennifer Davis from the Too Close to Home podcast, Dana Tucker, Cole McAlexander, and Max K. Really appreciate y'all. Y'all take a big burden off of us. Help us
Yes.
pay these bills. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Happy Friday the 13th. I think not to be that guy, Brian, but I did think we decided that we're going to do part 4 over again
Yeah.
first because Dustin wasn't there. We're going to redo that one. Then we'll do part 5. I'm excited for part 4. I really like that movie a lot.
I'd like another chance at it. My notes were ass.
Oh, it was episode 4, brother.
Yeah,
I
I know.
was
My notes are terrible.
unlistenable.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate y'all listening, and we'll be back.
Just want to remind everybody.
Don't go out there.